Welcome back to The Line. Voters in Santa Fe have an important new option in city elections this month. Ranked choice voting is now underway, and this process was approved by voters a decade ago, but is only now going into effect, and that's after legal challenges late last year. Tell me, start with you. Do you think ranked choice voting is a good thing for residents? And also, probably more importantly, is it understood at this point? Folks are going to the booth. Do you get the sense that this has been now understood fully?
Yes, I think it's a good idea. No, it's not understood fully.
Okay.
But that's not just because change, you're just not going to make this kind of change overnight.
Right.
I think that the PR campaign that the city of Santa Fe and their PR firm have been doing is really strong. They have a very clever video that kind of goes through everything. I think that that's very helpful.
Right.
But you know, all of the proactive messaging will only be supportive if on election night the system works. And if for some reason the clerk in Santa Fe all of a sudden goes, oops, then you know all that PR is for naught,
Right.
and they've got a big mess on their hands at that point.
Right.
So you know, but I'm excited to see it. I'd forgotten that it has taken more than 10 years.
Isn't that something?
For
I
it
know.
to actually get from point A to point B. That's a little discouraging.
We had to wait for the technology to catch up and some other things too. You know, Didi, Tom mentioned Betty Baer, Felix Fox, Lucinda Lizard, the PR campaign. It was very cute, and it really kind of got it across.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was an interesting article that we all sort of shared that, you know, folks going into the booth, there's people bring a human dynamic into these things. You know, they go in not liking it, whether it's real or not. Do you know what I mean? It's a very tricky,
Well, change
tricky
is
thing.
difficult.
So, yeah.
I mean, change is difficult. People are used to voting for one person.
That's right.
And making a choice, a hard choice between somebody that they kind of like and somebody who's going to win, let's say.
Right.
And so this is
Some
to
big difference
give them
there.
a second choice. And I think that's a healthy thing because that's what life is like. You know, it's not a zero-sum game always.
Right.
And so this is changing the nature of campaigns, I think, in Santa Fe a little bit as well, in terms of the candidates relating to one another, because these second choices are important. So you may not want to alienate the candidate who's going to get, who might vote for you, whose followers might vote for you as a second choice.
That's right.
So it's some people feel has led to a more civil kind of campaign in Santa Fe. Other people don't like that. They feel that the differences should be more delineated.
Right.
I think it's going to be fascinating, and I agree with Tom. It's going to be what happens on election night. Whether there's any snafu with the county clerk or the city clerk on election night. My understanding is that the initial round tally will be done the way it's always been done, posted on the doors of the polling places, so everybody can gather those totals, and you'll find out who's in first, second, third, fourth place. And then is when the fun begins,
Right.
when they redistribute the votes for the person that comes in last. So the last place person here becomes rather important.
That's right.
Because their votes are redistributed first to the other candidates. It's a pretty interesting system.
And there's trust issues, Laura Sanchez-Rivey, about that process that Didi's mentioning, this idea that this distribution, that's very new for folks, but instant runoff, as some people call it, is not terribly new. What's your sense of that? You've been around elections a long time. Is this really that new to you? Instant runoff's been around for a long time.
Well, it's not new to me in the sense that I've been very familiar with the way the Democratic pre-primary convention, I assume the Republican as well, the way
Sure.
that functions, and any Democrat or any convention, political convention tends to work this way. When you're selecting delegates, you very often, you ask for people's first vote, of course, but you often go in with a plan to ask for everybody's second vote.
That's right.
And it's that second vote getter that will get on. Of course, in that sense, you're filling multiple slots, so it's a little bit different because there is the opportunity to get on, for an end game. In this case, though, I still think that there's an opportunity for that second vote. So that you're going and saying, I think I'm the best person. I understand that you have a favorite, but I really want you to consider me as your second vote. And that makes a big difference, especially on those down ballot or on folks that don't get as many votes. And so I think the dynamics definitely change. It'll be interesting to see how that translates in terms of a message to voters versus what they do at the polls. Because I think early voters, it's been a little mixed. Some people just don't maybe they don't have the patience or for whatever reason don't want to vote for more than one person, so they're just picking one person. That essentially means that they're throwing away their other votes. There's no opportunity for their voice to be heard when it comes to those second or third people. So it's very interesting, and as I think as Dee Dee said, it's very change is hard for a lot of people. There's not a lot of time to educate folks for this particular race, so we'll see if that has an impact and whether they continue to use it in the future, and if people get some more familiarity, if that changes the way people choose to vote.
That's right. You know, when I think about this, Danny, the other dynamics, when you think about down the road a little bit, maybe not just this race, the amount of candidates could make a difference. Incumbents, how popular they are. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that can go into this that could make ranked choice just feel a little bit different than it does this cycle. But in general terms, are you supportive of this idea?
You know, I don't know enough about it to be supportive of the idea or not. What I'm not supportive of is whether it's President of the United States or school board member. I mean, we're electing these people with slim minorities of the voting population going out to vote.
Right.
So I think, clearly we got to look at something to get people more excited about voting, but I'm not sure that making it, more difficult or making it to where there's more suspicion is going to get people out to vote. But at the end of the day, we've got to figure out a way to get more people to turn out and vote, because it seems like people don't want to vote, but there's no lack of people that want to complain afterwards. And so I think we've got to focus on getting people involved so that they can help make a difference. Because electing these people, I know, we can go all the way down to the school board deal. I know, something happens at the school district and everybody's up in arms, then you find out, well, I really don't like her, she's a horrible school board member, and 212 people elected her to be school board. You're like, you're kidding me, right? I mean, there's 10,000 in the area that should have voted, and 212 people voted. To me, that's the overarching problem.
Tom, there's an interesting point here, though. If this in fact succeeds, I got to wonder if other municipalities might look at this down the road around New Mexico and think, all right, this might not be a bad idea, because it could encourage more candidates, which encourages more discussion, more ideas on the table, maybe a good thing for democracy.
And
more
possibly
turnout.
more turnout.
I would agree with that, too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think of that? Possible?
Yeah, I would like to see this idea go statewide, most definitely. I think it's a good solution. The question is will it work? And my concern is if the voting is anything like the campaign fundraising, we won't really see if it has a chance to work.
That's right.
Because if one of the candidates happens to gets a majority of the vote, then all bets are off, and you don't have a chance to see how this system works. So I think that there's that challenge that we could be here in another 4 years for Santa Fe, and they're going through this ranked choice voting unless another municipality steps up. And I think it's worthwhile.
Remember, what works in Santa Fe, when it works in Santa Fe, doesn't necessarily always
I see where you're
work
going.
everywhere else.
Absolutely. Dee Dee, when you think about us here in Albuquerque as well, there's heartburn sometimes in the way we do it here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, we just had this runoff, which left the winner with 10 working days into being sworn in. Now, an instant runoff vote costs much less, it's quicker, and it's more efficient if done right. It's just a question of whether it can be done right. So, I see it as giving voters more choice, encouraging more candidates to run, and that often means their family comes out to vote, whereas they may not have voted before, and then their family makes a second choice of, and it may really work to
tail of the
increase
tape.
I don't think it was a big
That's
problem
for
for Mayor Keller. He had a fantastic transition team headed up by our very own Senator Dee Dee.
There you go. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you all for joining us. And if you want to share your reactions to this week's topics, get in touch with us here at NewMexicoInFocus.org.